view of that presentation and those homes. So this year marks the 27th year that the foundation has presented an annual preservation awards. Since 1991.
If you could move your microphone just a tad closer, if you wouldn't mind.
Closer?
Yeah, so
right.
everybody can hear. Thank you.
Okay, is that better? Thank
Yes,
you.
it is.
Okay. Since 1991, more than 220 homes have been presented, awards have been presented to homeowners, businesses, organizations, architects, and landscape architects that have demonstrated a commitment to excellence in preserving Lake Forest's unique design heritage. This year we had a stellar group of nominations representing some of the finest homes in Lake Forest. A 6-member panel consisting of board members Guy Berg, Fred Moyer, and Kurt Peritz, as well as all three of whom are architects, by the way, and Gail Hodges, Art Miller, and Peter Coutant evaluated the nominations. They were judged according to the Secretary of Interior's guidelines on the treatment for historic properties. Out of all the nominations received, there were 12 award winners in 3 categories. These categories were rehabilitation, which is making sensitively designed additions and alterations to historic structures while protecting its historical and architectural character. This also includes adaptive reuse. Infill and new construction, building new construction that demonstrates outstanding contextual compatibility in an existing neighborhood, and preservation, maintaining the historical integrity and character of a structure or landscape through ongoing conservation, maintenance, and repair. In other words, long-term stewardship. We want to thank the homeowners and architects that submitted nominations this year, and the panel did not have an easy task. All of the projects that were evaluated this year, whether won or not, were of high quality projects that demonstrated the significant investment in good design in both architecture and landscape architecture. So, on with the award winners. Our first winner, stay on mic here, standing alongside Ahwahnee Road, facing east towards the Onwentsia Club Golf Course, is this 1927 Stanley Anderson designed brick and half-timbered Tudor, owned by Ed and Marie Pasquesi, the 1995 founders of Pasquesi's Home and Garden, and has been expanded with a sunroom addition on the left side of the house. The addition, designed by Lake Forest architect Scott Strafiff, fits the house perfectly while being sensitively scaled and using high-quality materials. The top arched windows and stone cladding complement the original house design. A period-knot garden that accompanying the scaled urns and ornaments is slighted to the south of the house of the addition. Its charming rear facade creates a generous afternoon garden in the back. Congratulations to Ed and Marie Pasquesi and architect I'm sorry, I should have brought my glasses, but then I can't see the sign. For being winners of the Preservation Award for Rehabilitation in this sensitively designed addition. Facing a potential threat of demolition, 339 Foster was saved when it was purchased by Charrington Drake in 2014. This 1955 mid-century modern design by I.W. Colburn still had the original kitchen, including the 1950s oven and stove. Modestly scaled and influenced by Asian style, the house sits on 2.2 acres of irregular terrain across from the Country Day School. Working with architect William Massey, the original detached garage to the north of the house was converted to a guest house and attached to the building via a covered breezeway, an element that was part of Colburn's original design but never constructed. A newly sensitively designed attached garage was added to the west side of the house. The interior was rehabbed while preserving and reusing original finishes throughout in order to maintain Colburn's original design, intent, and feel. The collaboration between owner and architect honors Colburn's original vision and shows the possibilities of preserving historic, modernist design, well executed, to fit compatibly with traditionalist Lake Forest. Congratulations to Sharrington Drake, architect William Massey, the winners of a Rehabilitation Award. Tucked down a private drive off Green Bay Road, what this 1911 Howard Van Doren Shaw designed house lacks in street exposure more than makes up for in its striking beauty of both house and landscape. The distinctive brick and limestone residence, known as Kleinola, was home to 3 generations of Donnelly owners from 1911 to 2010, before being purchased and rehabbed by the current owners, Stephanie and John Harris. The original south garden room trellis work by Shaw has been preserved and replanted on various occasions, including most recently by landscape architect Charles Stick. Non-historic additions and alterations to the house were replaced with more historically appropriate improvements and the exterior facade restored. The distinctive east entry facade stands identical to and as fresh as it was when it was in 1911. Thanks to the sensitive rehabilitation work, the Harrises are winners of a Preservation Award for Rehabilitation for exceptional work that they've done with the house and landscaping. There's perhaps no other residence in Lake Forest that epitomizes the word landmark, quite like 51 South Mayflower. Standing some 75 feet tall, it's iconic in every sense of the word. Built in 1928 and designed by David Adler, it is the original service building and tower of the Alfred Hamill estate known as Centaurus. The building originally was designed to have a 3-car garage with 2 apartments for the staff. The tower served as a reclusive study for Hamill. Subdivided in the 50s from the main house that sits along Illinois Road, it was purchased by Eva and Craig Quackenbush in the 80s. Theirs was the first effort to create an adaptive reuse, well-organized, single-family residence from what was essentially a large garage attached to a quirky 5-story tower. Not an easy task. Working with noted preservation architect John Vinci, their efforts, in effect, saved this unusual building from dereliction. Over the years, new doors, windows, restoration of the stucco exterior, upgraded landscaping with cobblestone driveway, restoration of the greenhouse, and rehabilitation of the interior to create a rational layout and flow of rooms has transformed this multiple-use structure into a one-of-a-kind family home. Their efforts have allowed this building to continue to stand as one of the great architectural delights of Lake Forest. Congratulations to Eva and Craig Quackenbush, winners of the Preservation Award for Rehabilitation. In between a neighborhood of large estate-sized homes on one side and smaller homes experiencing teardown and major expansion on the other, this home at 1090 Edgewood has remarkably managed to maintain its original scale and charm for the past 90 years. This 1.5-story gambreled roof colonial residence was designed for Mrs. William Hubbard by architect Walter Frazier in 1927. The house has been expanded by several owners, notably with a garage extension on the south side of the house, but always leaving the streetscape of this handsomely proportioned home and its front garden little changed from the original appearance 90 years ago. The current owners, Peggy and Dan Schweller, have expanded the house with their own sensitively scaled and sited addition off the rear of the facade, with a first-floor master suite and basement below. Working with the Gobler Company, their product also included removal of non-historic aluminum siding, gutters, downspouts, and windows. Then was replaced with cedar siding that was sized to the original character, copper gutters, copper downspouts, and double-hung windows with true divided lights. Congratulations to Peggy and Dan Schwiller, winners of the Preservation Award for thoughtful design and rehabilitation of an original house. From time to time, a rehab comes along that is so skillfully undertaken that the new blends seamlessly with the original, as was the case at 800 Sheridan Road, the home of Meredith and Lance Mitchell. The owners, working with Lake Forest Landmark Development and their builder, the Gobler Company, have rejuvenated this historically and architecturally significant 1927 Stanley Anderson designed residence. The rehab project included expansion of the original garage, which was too small to accommodate 2 vehicles, the construction of a kitchen and master suite addition on the back of the house, along with renovating the interior. In this case, not only is the architect's expansion plan designed to minimize its impact on the original structure, but the craftsmanship of the builder, and in particularly the masons, that had laid the stonework to match the garage and rear addition with its original look is outstanding. This project is a great example of quality craftsmanship that is evident in so many of this year's nominations. Congratulations to the Mitchell family, winners of the Preservation Award for Rehabilitation. Another project of exceptional design and craftsmanship is the newly constructed detached garage at 111 Westminster, the 1928 Noble Judah estate. This award for new construction recognizes the compatible new freestanding garage of exceptional quality just east of the house, designed by the Polton Group to match the manor house in form and materials, while stepping down in height. The new courtyard also relates the new building to the main house. The garage replaces a non-historic structure that was built when the original 1924 garage by David Adler was subdivided off in 1946. The owners, Liam and Francesca Connell, have undertaken numerous restoration projects on this property and were previously awarded a 2014 Rehabilitation Award for their work on the main house. For this most recent project, permission to demolish the old garage and construct a new garage required not only approval of the city's Historic Preservation Commission, but also the zoning variance, a building scale variance, and approval by the City Council, and a minor property line change. The results are well worth the effort. All materials and construction techniques duplicated their others found on the main house and were based off of details found on the original plans. The walls are solid masonry with stone and brick. The wood windows are true divided light with custom milled to match the existing muttons. The timbers are hand-azed white oak, and the roof tiles were selected from reclaimed salvage tiles to match. Congratulations to the Connells and the Poulton Group, winners of the Preservation Award for new construction. Nestled in the wooded lot with a dense canopy of large trees, this new home and slate French Renaissance revival house is both elegant and restrained. The dark slate roof, limestone cornices and coins, random ashlar stone walls, and stained wood doors are all characteristic of the French style. This beautiful residence at 1313 West Lee is the home of Doctors Derek and Anoki Bach and was designed by the Mellicar architects and built by the Lynch Construction. The simplicity of design not only complements the site, but also does an excellent job of being contextually compatible with other surrounding houses, including those within the nearby Villa Turicum subdivision. For the quality of design, materials, and craftsmanship, the Brox and Mellicar architects are winners of a Preservation Award for this sensitively designed infill project. In architecture, it's the small details that matter. Little things like the proportion of a window or the thickness of a glazing bar can make the difference between a building appearing classic, solid, and timeless, or an unconvincing imitation. Dan and Leanne Brune, and their architect, Scott, boy, I'm having trouble with that one, Strayup, have created a new residence at 1500 North Sheridan Road that gets the details right. From the nicely proportioned facade and the classical elements to the correctly sized operable shutters and gaslight lanterns, there is not a too big house. This is not a, quote, too big house, and its materials and details are expertly carried out and scaled to fit a narrow building site, making the home feel classic, solid, and timeless. Congratulations to the Bruins and architect Scott for the recipients of the Preservation Award for Infill and for creating a new home that contributes and complements the Sheridan Road streetscape. There may be no other more recognizable fence in town than the one found along the north end of Lake Road, with its distinctive black and white color scheme and repetitive swag form. Originally associated with the 1929 Adler designed Bentley House, just to the north, this southernmost section of fencing, as a result of subdivision, now belongs to 1401 Lake Road. This segment of fencing has been maintained regularly beginning 35 years ago by owners Mary Claire and Lowell Dixon. According to Art Miller, two sources credit the fence to architect Ambrose Kramer, a junior partner of Adler in 1932. There's also some thought that perhaps the fence is an antique Dutch one moved here from Saratoga, New York. In any case, this distinctive historic fence, installed, reconstructed, and/or designed by the firm of David Adler in 1932, has been well preserved and faithfully maintained by the Dixons for a third of a century, working more recently with the Gobler Group to replace deteriorated parts where necessary and matching the original design. Mary Claire stated it best in her nomination form when she wrote, quote, "An historic fence requires near constant repair and rebuilding, but one as unique as this Adler gem merits the expense," end quote. Congratulations to the Dixons, winners of a Preservation Award for their longtime stewardship of this Adler gem, an important and distinctive element to the Lake Road streetscape. Standing majestically along the west side of Waukegan Road, like Mount Vernon overlooking the Potomac, and you will notice the upper right picture is Mount Vernon. It is among the most recognized homes in Lake Forest. 1111 Summerfield, home of Nancy and Adrian Smith. This well-preserved classic two-story country home with its colonial revival two-story portico faces east across the long greensward. To passers-by, if the striking facade doesn't catch the eye, surely the impressive display of spring tulips along the street will. Now the home is home to one of the world's most noted architects and his spouse. It was originally the home of one of the nation's major builders of hotels and other large structures nearly a century ago, Walter Ashlerger. In Chicago, he is best known for his 1929 Medina Athletic Club, now the Intercontinental Hotel on Michigan Avenue. The Smiths have owned the home since 1987 and have worked on it every year to ensure its preservation. It's in impeccable condition. I might also add that not too long ago, the Smiths generously placed a conservation easement on the yard in front, stretching between the house and Waukegan Road, ensuring that future generations will continue to enjoy what is one of the most stunning vistas to any house in Lake Forest. Congratulations to the Smiths, winners of the Preservation Award, for your longtime ownership and dedication to preservation of 1111 The average length of home ownership in the U.S. is about 6 years. The home of our last recipient has been in their family for close to 90 years. If ever there were an example of being a good steward in a long-term preservation of a home, it's embodied in Prue and Frank Beidler and the Beidler family's ownership of 20 Stonegate. Understated in its elegance and situation in a garden that is second to none, this 1926 Harry T. Lindberg designed house is a smaller version of the tall-roofed French Renaissance style of both the nearby Wildwood Estate and that of the 1928 Onwentsia Clubhouse. Previous owner, Elizabeth Beidler, purchased the house in 1928, and it has remained in the family ever since, and by the early 70s became the home of the current owners. In recent years, architecturally appropriate and historically sensitive improvements were designed by architect Tom Reikovic with landscaping by Hershout Landscape Architects, including a new pool and related development to the southeast portion of the house. So congratulations to Prue and Frank Beidler, recipients of the Preservation Award for their outstanding stewardship of 20 Stonegate. As a personal side note, that concludes this year's presentation, but as a personal side note, I happen to take particular interest in that 2 of our award winners were designed by Stanley Anderson, and I happen to live in Stanley's home, so I have kind of an indirect benefit out of the whole process. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
It's an
Thank you.
extraordinary collection.
Outstanding.
It was great recognition, so thank you.
Wonderful work.
So any open items to discuss or share?
The commission will adjourn into a work session, and it still is a public meeting, so you're all welcome to attend, but we don't have any other petitions. We do want to note, based on a recent decision as part of the budget process by the City Council, that the Historic Preservation Commission will no longer be regularly televised. If there is a significant issue that comes before you, the City Council may direct that particular meetings are televised. Your meetings will continue to be held in the council chambers. So we will still have the visual aids, audio-visual aids. The meeting date and time does not change. Your regularly scheduled meeting is the 4th Wednesday of the month. Certainly from time to time there's changes, but the minutes of each meeting will still be kept, and they are available after you approve them on the city's website. And I would just encourage anyone who has questions or comments, and I'm sure the commission will talk through if you get any feedback. But it's just one. I think for a couple reasons. I think the city has heard that perhaps coming before the commission, knowing you're on TV, can be intimidating. And I think the goal of these meetings really is to be collaborative and really try and preserve the character and significant structures in the community. The Building Review Board and Zoning Board also will not be televised. The Building Review Board, in an effort to explore maybe a different format for their meeting, the Building Review Board will actually move their meetings to municipal services and really structure their meetings, or at least initially experiment with some different meeting formats, again, in an effort to really make the process collaborative and welcoming. So I think it will be an evolving process. Certainly if the Building Review Board has great success, we may want to talk to the commission about making that same change, but for this year, that change is not proposed. I know there's been some misinformation out there, so just to be clear, your meetings will be in the council chambers on the regularly scheduled nights.
Okay, great.
With that, if you would like to close this part of the meeting and adjourn.
I was just gonna, if anybody else, before we do that, invite anybody up if there are any comments or other items? No? Okay, hearing none. Then, and then also before I close, there are always people behind the scenes who do all this wonderful work and put the shows together and broadcast them out there. So as much as they might not be active as much here as they have in the past, we should certainly thank them for that. You don't see them every day, but they're obviously doing a lot of good work for the community. So thank them for that. And
I did have one other item.
Yes.
I might have missed it at the beginning, but we
was
want
gonna
to
say-
welcome.
Yep, welcome Jan, absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, yeah, look forward to your participation. You've got a long history of involvement, so we thank you for that. So with that, I then a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Seconded. All right, so adjourn. All right, so thank you so much, and thank you for the presentation. It was wonderful.
Yes.
Really, it was great.
Well, I'm glad she said something.